Hello guys, and in this episode I'm going to show you how to make your model actually do something. And in today's video I'm going to show you how to create some user interface to interact with your data in your application. So in the previous episode we created a model, but now we want to give our user a way to actually interact with that model and to create new models, and then edit, eventually delete. So let's dive into our application. Let's see what models we created before. We created a post model and user model. Okay, so let's say we want to create new users. We want to create them by hand. So what we would need for that, we would need a controller for those users. So let's go ahead and create controller that we're going to use to manipulate users. We do it by typing Rails generate. Oh, by the way, before you actually start, let's check if we have any files to commit to our source code repository, and if so, we can add that to our Git and also push to Heroku. So Git status to see, oh, there is some changes. So let's add everything. Git add and git commit. Finished model. Okay, git push. And after that, we can also push to Heroku. I don't have my VPN on. There's some weird things going on. But after you could go git push, we can also say git push Heroku master. Okay, it won't work here because I'm not on VPN, but you can do it in your machine. Clear. Okay, so let's create our controller. Rails generate controller. And let's say controller is going to be controlling users, so I type just users, like that. Then here, just like we created models, we could add some extra stuff in here. So the generator will create those things as well. For example, the actions that the controller will have, for example, new, edit, create, etc., etc. We're not going to do it because we're going to create all those functions, all those actions by hand, so you can see how how we can make them. All right, so let's go ahead and press enter, and that will create a whole bunch of files. Let's look at those files one by one. All right, so first one is the user's controller. This is the under app and controllers, there is this new users controller. Let's open that, we're going to use it. Next one is the folder for views. So in here, the application created this folder. It's empty now, there is nothing in it, but we're going to put files there. Next one is obviously what we want is some spec files. The first one, user controller spec. In this video, we're not going to touch that file, so don't worry about it. Okay, so it's in here for your information. You can open that. There is nothing inside that file. There are no test. There is one describe block, but it's empty. Let's close that. Next one, it's in the helpers file. There is a pending test. Let's delete that because it's going to annoy us here in helpers folder under spec. Let's close that. Next one is what else? We have JavaScripts and style sheets. So if you go back to the top of our application, there is this under app, there is folder called assets, and in this assets we have JavaScripts, and it just created this file for us. This is users.js.coffee. We're not going to do anything with that file, so we can close it. You don't have to delete it, it just can stay there. There is something similar in the style sheets folder. Users.css.scss. Again, we're not going to do anything with that file just now, so we can close that, close all those folders, okay, and just leave this users controller RB. And let's also create our high-level integration test, and we're going to use it as a feature test. Do it by Rails generate integration test, and let's call it users pages. That's it. And just like before, it will put it into requests folder right here. 1 second, this is going to take a while because my computer is slow, even though I just installed the latest system on it. All right, so this is this test. Let's just put it in a different folder. Let's put it into, sorry. I'm sorry, my screen goes off. All right, there we go. So let's just put it in a different folder. I have it in requests, and let's put it in features, okay? Right here. Okay, so in features, now we have the static pages controller and our new users pages controller. Let's delete this placeholder test. Save and create new block. Okay, describe, and we're gonna say the new, or maybe display, so show page. Okay, do, and always close your end. All right, so we have it here, and that's an empty block. So let's create some before actions and then test what our application is doing. So let's start before we're gonna visit user path, and user path is going to be with user. So we pass this user to it, and because we need this user, let's create it first. Okay. So actually, before that, we actually need to go and add something to our gem file. So very quickly, we're going to use something that's called factory girl. So let's go here and type gem factory girl Rails. We're going to use this gem to generate test models for us very quickly, so we don't have to build them by hand. So bundle install. It's going to take a second, but we're going to start using the syntax. Okay, so in your spec folder, where did it go? Spec. Okay, in this folder, create a new file. Okay, let's save that file as factories .rb, like that. Okay, and in this factories file, let's call our factory go that is just now installing. Okay, and before it installs, we can already put some content into this factories file. Oh, sorry, factory. Okay, and inside here we can define our instructions how to create certain models. So let's start with factory to create user. Okay, and our factory user, it's going to create the user instance, and we give each user a name. And that name, actually, let's do it so every user gets a different name. And the syntax for that is sequence name, and in block we're going to pass, say, like this, say user and we have to use double quotes because we're going to inject some code here like this, and not single quotes. And the code we're going to put here is hash and curly braces. And inside that we say just a. So what this will do, we'll execute it as many times as we call factory girl, And each time we'll increment this A. So the first user is going to create is going to have name username 1. The second user for the test will be username 2. So they don't have identical name. Let's save that. And this is still going. It's really slow. So let's go back to our test, and we can call it factory girl from here. Let's make it. Okay, so it's kind of okay. So we can say let user. Okay, and this is variable the name we pick. Okay, so this and this is the same thing. Okay, and then we say factory girl create user, and this user is different because this goes to the factory's file. This is just a variable. So we, for first user we say user, but maybe later we want to say new user. Okay, and then we'll have to change it here as well, like this. So let me actually cancel this and try again, because it's taking way too long. All right, so once we have this describe before action, before block, we can also do the expectation. So we would say that when we are on this user path page, we expect to find user name in somewhere inside of the content. That's quite logical. So it, and by the way, when we say it, we need to define the subject. So our subject would be, in this case, page, because we expect page to do something. Should have content user name. And we use this user as a variable, so there is no quotes or nothing. We just call name directly on this object. All right, so we save that, and before this actually finishes, let's make sure that we, from the console, because right now there is no way to create new users from the user interface, so we have to interact with our application through the console. So let's say Rails C, or short for console. Oh, dear God. It will be stopped by this installation. So let's wait a second and give it a couple minutes. Great. Our bundle has now finished, so we can go here and open our console. And we'll create by hand, we'll create a user object. Okay, so we say user equals user.new, and we'll give it name Tom Hawk. Okay, and save that. Say user.save. Oh, we probably require in our model email. I can't remember. So when we create our user, we not only have to give a name, but we have to give the email. And we'll say Tom at example.com. Okay, and user save. Okay, this time it succeeded. Great. So we know that we have one user in the database. So we're going to be testing it on our user interface. Then we can see that user. All right. So let's run our spec. Just make sure that the font is actually big enough for you to see. Great. So we have this one failure, and the failure says, well, the email can't be blank. Okay, so we have the same error in our factory because we just passed the name. So let's give it an email too. And we can do it, we can give each user the same email, and that would be just email and then some at example.com. But we can use this nicer syntax that would make all emails unique. So sequence email, and we pass the block, and we can use the same variable, say A. So user, and here we say A at example.com. Great. Save that and run our spec again. All right, so we have the same, we have the error, but now the error is not the same. So now we have undefined method user path. So in other words, the application doesn't know about this address user path. And you will see that this is following what we call REST API. So we have different URLs or different paths depending on which type of controller action we want to go to. For example, user path means that we want to go to show action, where we show only one record, one user. But without actually explaining this in very deep details, we will see how it works soon enough. So let's go back to config and let's define our paths for different actions for the user. So go to config and go to routes. And right here, just type resources. Okay, you have example here commented out. So resources, users, or whatever model you're working on. I'm working on users right now, so and that's why I'm saying users. Okay, let's go back here and run our spec. Okay, error is still there, but now it's a different error. Now it says there is no action show in the controller, in the user's controller. So we're going to create it soon enough. In the meantime, I want to show you, you see how I use this user path. The way to see all the paths that your application currently have is just to run rake routes. And that will show all the different paths or different addresses within your application. This is all based on this file here, on the routes file. So you will see right now that I have a whole bunch of routes for users, okay? It's going to be 8 of them. And they're all created by this one line. So Rails is creating a whole bunch of different routes to users index, create new, edit. Even though we don't have those actions in our controller yet, the Rails is already making addresses for those actions. It's because it's following the standard of REST API. So let's go back into our users controller and create that action that the test was complaining about. So that action, that action is called show, because we want to show the user. So define show. And let's save that and run the spec again. And this time, I already know that the spec will complain about that there is no template. Okay, but let's wait and see if that's true. Yes, we have missing templates for users show. So let's go back to our views folder. And in our users, we'll create a new file and we call it show. Oh, sorry, not here. We call it show.html.erb. Great, so that file is empty inside of users. Okay, it's a HTML file. And if we run the spec again, this time it will not complain about the lack of template, it will complain about lack of the correct content. I just want you to have a look that those all things match. Those all, so the user, the method in the controller, or say action in the controller, is matching the name of the HTML5. It's both here show and here is shows. That's why Rails can find them very easily. Okay. Also, undefined local variable method user for our spec. Oh, because we change our factory and we didn't change our user. So here we say new user, but here we say user.name. So of course it's supposed to be new user.name. Great. So now it's expecting to find text user number 1, but there is only home and contact, which are the links from the menu. So there is no content that says user number 1. So let's go ahead and create our user number 1. So the simplest way would be just to write user number 1 and save that and run the spec. As you can see, the test passes. So now, every time you go to the user show action, it will say user number 1, which is enough to make our test pass. In the next step, we'll make this dynamic, but let's see how it looks in our browser. So go back to your command line and just make sure that you start your server. I'll start Rails S or server for long. And here I'll go to localhost :3000 as soon as this starts. Alright, so it's in. Okay, dokie. Alright, so this is the home page, and if we go /users/1, it'll say user number 1. So this is the show action for the user with the ID number 1. So let's say, what's going to happen if we pass 500 here? Well, that's supposed to be a user number 500, but it still says user number 1. We don't even have 500 users right now. So let's go here and make it dynamic. So for each different URL, for different ID of a user, see here is passing ID 500. For each ID, we'll display a different user. So let's go back to our controller and let's find our user. So we say @user equals user find params, those params, okay, ID, okay, because when you go in our path, this 500 here would be an ID, and you can see it in our rate routes. Okay, for our show action, that's the address. Look, it's users, and then there's a parameter ID. We have users here, and it's 500. That's this parameter. If we say 1, that's the parameter is ID 1. Okay, so here we're looking for the user with the ID that we're passing in the URL. So we can save that, and in our show we can call that instance variable that we just created. So we say that by using some Ruby code inside of our HTML, and we say @user.name, and we can save that and go back here. And now we see in our database, this is actually using our development database, that user number 1 has the name John. We created it during the previous class. Number 2 is Luke. Number 3 would be Tony Hawk. And number 4 doesn't exist. The application couldn't find user with ID 4. Okay, so be aware of that when you actually looking for some users, you may not find one, okay, or any other records for that matter. So, but that's enough. That's enough for our show action. Let's go ahead and make sure that we can create new users through the user interface. So in our user pages spec, let's create new block. Say describe new. So there will be a new user page do. And inside here we say before visit users, sorry, new user path, and or actually we're gonna do more stuff here. We just say do like this. So do also needs an end. So here I put end, and inside of this do block we're gonna visit new users path, and we're gonna do some form filling. So fill in name with colon Susan, and we say fill in email with susan@example.com. Or we have to put it in quotes, of course, like this. And it should create new user, do, end, always close your end, all your do's, all your blocks. So here we would say expect in curly braces, click button, save. So this is the name we're going to put on our button. Okay. New button save to space change user, the whole class, count by 1. So after we go to this new user path and we fill the form out, we expect that when we click the button that says save, the user class will get another record. So there will be another user. So the count of all users will change by +1. Okay, let's save that and go to our terminal and run the spec. Great. At this time, didn't complain about the lack of route, but now it says there is no new action in the controller. Let's create one. Go here, say def new, like this, and go here and run our spec again. So now Capybara complains there is missing template. So in the views for users, let's create new file that says new HTML ERB. And run the spec again. And now the spec is complaining that there is no name field in our page because, well, the page is empty, there is no form. So to create a form, there are two steps to it. First one is we need to do some preparation in controller, and the second we write the form. So in our new file, we're going to create something very similar that our show function, action has. So we say add user equals user.new. That's it. And now we can use that user in our form. So we're going to use the form helper. Okay, and we have to close that. So you say form for add user. This is the user that comes from the controller. We pick some variable that we're going to use inside the form. So we say f. F is it's quite a common way to name this variable here. And we have to say end. And we have to use the same syntax, by the way. So in here we would say okay, it's pretty annoying, there is no completion for this here. We say f label for our form, name, and let me copy this so it'll be a little bit faster to write. And we use text field also for the name. So at this point we can actually go back to our users./new, and you will see that there is this field with label name. Okay, so we can already put some here. Alright, so we have the field for name, and let's also create a field for email. Just like that. Okay, and also let's create a button to submit. Just like that. So instead of text field, we say submit. And the name on the button, let's say, just like in our test, save. You can pick a different name if you want. And it will look just like that. Okay? Or maybe we want to break the lines so they're not in the same line. So we just put it after here, we say BR for line break. Yeah. And maybe one at the end before the button. Okay. And we can run the spec again. Okay, so now it says there is no action create in the controller, because when we submit this form, it will try to go automatically to the create create action in controller. So let's create this function, or action, sorry. Create. Okay, let's say that, and let's run our spec. So in the next videos, I'm going to do it a little bit faster, but right now I want to do it step by step so you can see how test is showing us what is the next step in our implementation. So we run the test as very simple. That says just go to this page, fill this out, and it should create a user. There is quite a few steps, and the test will tell us what exactly the tests are. So now it says there is no template. So there is no template for create action. But in create action, we're not going to create a new template. We're just going to redirect user somewhere else. So we say redirect redirect to, and we would say the list of all users. So we'd say so we say users path. Okay, and that's going to be index. Actually, yeah, really users path, or maybe root path right now. Root path would be faster. Root path, so the home page. And now if you run the spec, it will complain that after running the instructions, the new user has not been created. So the count of the user class has been changed by 0 instead of 1, right here. So because our create action doesn't really do anything, so let's make it do something. So you say add user equals user create, and now we're going to use params. But we can't really, in the latest version of Rails, we cannot use those same params that we use here. We have to define them in our private functions or methods. So private. And let me just have a sneak peek in my notes, because I can never remember the syntax. It's just a new syntax, and I haven't really learned it by heart. Okay, so we say define user params. Okay, and we say here params require user. Don't worry about the syntax. Just use this just this way. Permit. Here we say name. Any. Okay, so that's it. And now we can use this user params method. So go here, create, and say use user params to create that user. Let me say if at user save, then we want to, oh sorry, not it, if we want to render that user, show, or maybe redirect to show. To user path. And now we can pass that user that we used before. So this is the same user here. Okay, so we can already pass it here. So if user.save, we show that user. Else, we're gonna render new. So in case that for whatever reason the creation of user was unsuccessful, we're going to re-render the new page so they can try to create user again. So let's save that, go back to our spec and run it. And that actually should be it. That should create our user. Great. And in our view, let's refresh that and say, let's create a new user. So the new user would be, I don't know, Jim. And say Jim at example.com. Save that. Okay, and now I'm showing our user number 4, the one that we didn't have before. So let's go back to our new again and create a new user. And save that. And it goes to our user number 5. Okay, so we have 5 users and we all created them through the user interface. Thank you for now. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to display a list of all users. And then the next one, I'll show you how to do some more work with those users. Thank you very much.